Okay, so I've driven it around a little bit and warmed the engine up, and I'm stopped at McDonald's here having me a biscuit, and I don't know if that's showing there very good or not, but we're going to run this key on engine running on-demand self-test, which is going to run the engine through paces and do some various tests on different systems and circuits while the engine's running. And you'll hear the engine rev up a little bit and all that. It's doing that all on its own. So we will tell that to go ahead and go. Let it do its thing. See what it does. See the engine revs itself up a little bit. Notice I don't have my foot on the gas. I'm not touching nothing. This is the computer doing all this. You know, it's doing its thing here. We'll see what she says here. Okay. Alright, so our drive cycle's not done yet. And there's a brake switch out of self-test range. Had the air conditioning on. That's not good. That's alright though. It's going to be freaking 90 degrees out here, so of course that's a drive cycle test, we know that, so that's okay. We're not worried about that. What we're not seeing is that 1537, 1538 code and the 0008 code, which is very good. So we'll drive it a little more and get it past those drive cycle tests, and then we'll go get it inspected. Okay, so we've put a few miles on it, but our drive monitor's still not done yet. I've switched over to the other tool here, which gives me a real quick and easy indication. You'll see that it's yellow right now because it's still running the test, and in the it's a little difficult to see, but you see a bunch of dots up there in the top. There's one blinking, and that's the one for the evaporative monitor. That's the one that takes forever to complete. As you can see, all the other monitors are done already. So we're going to keep driving it until it's okay. I've been driving this thing around a little bit this morning to get past my drive cycle monitor, which this thing will focus in. Still hasn't gotten there yet, but it takes a while for that evap monitor to finish. But I'm here in the parking lot of Kentucky Downs, which is about spitting distance from my house, and I pulled in off my test drive because something just doesn't feel quite right. And when I'm driving this, it feels kind of labored, and I noticed something when I would pull to a stop. And I'm gonna set the camera on the dash here and see what you I don't know if the camera will illustrate this or not, but when you come to a stop, this thing almost feels like it has a brake. One of the brakes are dragging a little bit, like maybe a caliper's hung up. Watch when I move the vehicle. Okay, and then I'm just going to pop it in neutral and just let it come to a stop on its own. Okay. Now, I don't know if you saw that, but it almost felt like you had the brake on. And I'm also, now that I'm stopped, I'm catching a hint of some brake heat. You know, when you can smell those brake pads, and I think this truck has a caliper hanging up. So we're going to get it back to the shop and get it up on the lift and check this out. And this, you know, is just something that you know, is very important when you're working on a vehicle. Before you give it back to somebody, always do a good thorough test drive, because even though I didn't have a single thing to do with the brakes on this truck, okay, if I give it back to the customer and one day later, you know, they're driving it and the caliper locks up and they're sitting on the side of the road, you know, I mean, this is something that could get by you real easy if you're not doing a thorough test drive and paying attention to everything that's going on in the vehicle. So anyway, let's get back to the shop and get this truck up on the lift and spin all these wheels and see which one's sticking. Okay, now you can tell it's getting worse now. Of course, I'm very close to the house, so we're not in any fear of breaking down or anything. But I'm in third gear right now, and you can just really feel the engine laboring to move the truck. So that caliper's hanging up. Okay, we got the old girl up in the air now. Now, with the brakes, with your foot off the brakes, all right, that's pretty much what should happen. Should just spin nice, slow, and easy to a stop. Now, look what we got going on here. I mean, it's taking a lot of force to turn that wheel. And it's not locked up tight per se, but it's dragging very, very terribly. Now this, I can feel the heat coming off of this wheel already. I don't even want to touch the rim. And now this one is actually spinning a little bit, but you can literally feel the heat coming off of this. I'm gonna go get my little thermal gun and we'll shoot a reading off of it. Okay, now you can smell that brake smell in here really bad. Now we're gonna this wheel here, I'll shoot a temperature on that. That's showing what, 110 degrees. Let's shoot this one. That 265 degrees. That's a lot of heat coming off of that wheel. Now, admittedly, you know, they do get hot, but I mean, when you feel it coming off the wheel like that, and then there's this one. This one's only 142, but yet this is the one that's really, really stiff. So go figure. So we're gonna have to hang some calipers and brake pads on this thing. So much for finishing it today. You'll notice I'm wearing gloves on as I'm fixing to do this. You don't always see me doing that, but knowing how hot this wheel is, knowing how hot those nuts are going to be when they come off of there, I'm not going to burn my hands here. I've done this once or twice before. And I'm not going to stick them in a plastic hubcap where it can melt them. So just set them on the lift here and where they cool down. You can smell that pungent smell of burning brake pad, which is not good. I'm going to show you something else here too. We'll do a couple things here. I'm going to show you something on the brake pad that is evidence of it getting too hot. And then we're going to do one more little test just to make sure we don't have a bad brake hose instead of a brake caliper. Sometimes a brake hose can go bad and act like a check valve, and you can force fluid through it like when you step on the brake, but when you let off, the hose will collapse and it won't let the pressure off, so it'll keep a constant drag on the wheel. So now this one, got a good bit of drag on it. And we check that by popping the bleeder a little bit. Okay, no pressure there. And the caliper's still stuck. So we know we've got a problem. So I'm going to take the camera off the tripod here and show you what I was talking about on the brake pad itself. Okay. If you can see right there, that black spooge, okay, that's kind of a glue substance they use on a metal, little strip of metal that goes on the that goes between the brake pad and the caliper. It goes a little ways and help keeping the brakes from squealing. So we're gonna have to, you know, that's our smoking gun, so to speak. And more than likely, these brakes have, these disc brakes have what are called phenolic pistons, which means they're made of plastic, and over time they the sealer wears off on the outsides of those pistons, and they get porous and they swell up from the brake fluid, and that will you know, that'll cause them to stick in the bore like that. And car's got 222,000 miles on it here, so you know, it's not unusual. So we're going to go ahead and, since these brake pads are pretty well worn as well, if you look, there ain't a whole lot left of them there. They're about 2.5 times again thicker than that when they're new. So we better go ahead and pull the back wheels and check the back brakes too, just to make sure. Only gonna take a couple of minutes, ain't gonna kill me. Well, I was optimistic looking at this wheel. The brake shoes look fine, perfectly normal wear, got plenty of life left in them, until I went over to this side. It's just getting better and better. Here what we've got is the apparently the rear axle seal and bearing has gone bad, and it's leaking gear oil out into the brakes, and the whole brake shoes and everything are all soaked in gear oil. Not a good thing. I was hoping to be done with this truck today. Doesn't look like it's going to happen. Well, anyway, at least the hydraulics look good on the brakes. There's no brake fluid leakage or anything like that. But I'll have to deliver the bad news to the owner. Not good. So, let's see if I can get down in here to get a good look at that, right where the axle shaft comes out of the, where it comes out of the rear end here. If I can get some good video of that. So that's where the gear oil is leaking out right there. So I imagine the rear end's low on gear oil too. So, and then you can look inside the brake drum here. See, the brake drum's all soaked in gear oil. So we're gonna have to clean all that off. So anyway, well, there we have it. So much for being done today. Stay tuned. We'll update everybody as we go here.